A huge part of decluttering and simple living is making sure we get our shopping in order as well. Otherwise, all of our good work will be for nothing. And there are many different ways of how we can achieve this, but one of the really popular ones, especially lately, is doing a no-buy challenge. And because I've done loads of those in the last 10 years of me becoming a minimalist, I also want to share some lessons with you, specifically 5 things I wish before doing a no-buy. The first thing I wish I knew is the more specific the rules, the better the challenge is gonna go, because very often when we see an exciting challenge online and we just say, okay, I'm gonna do this without really planning beforehand, we can get in trouble when a specific situation arises in our life, and then we either force ourselves to stick to a challenge and we feel bad, or we break the rules, we buy something and we feel even worse. That's why I really recommend, before even doing the challenge, that you take out a piece of paper and you go through all of your important spending categories in your life and you make rules for each category separately. Now here I want to mention the difference between a no-buy and a low-buy, because those are kind of similar challenges with just a few exceptions. A no-buy, it's a lot more stricter because we are only allowing ourselves to buy things in our essential categories, everything that we kind of need for survival, and then all of the extras such as clothes and shoes and accessories and makeup and perfume and even skincare sometimes, those are the categories we're not gonna buy anything in. But then with the low buy, we allow ourselves to spend money even in those non-essential categories. But again, because we're doing a low buy, we have to decide which categories we're gonna spend money in and which categories we're gonna save in. So for example, you can decide you're not gonna buy anything for your closet, also no makeup and no perfumes, but skincare is allowed. Or maybe you go even deeper. This is something that I personally love to do, and you break down your closet into more categories as well. So instead of just saying clothes, you can break it down into dresses and tops and coats and bottoms and even jeans, shorts. You can go as specific as you want, and you can say, okay, I don't allow myself to buy any more tops and dresses and jackets because I have more than enough of those, but then all of my other categories, I can buy anything that I want. And then when you do the categories, you also want to think about for how long do you want to do this challenge for, maybe a month, 2, 3, it depends. Some people do it for an entire year, but a timeline is also very, very important here. So these are just a few examples. And then lastly, I want to mention that you also want to think about very specific situations that might happen in the next month, 2, or for however long you're doing this challenge for. For example, if you're doing a no-buy on your makeup, but then you use something up, think about that. Will you allow yourself to buy something new, a replacement, or not? And then also a situation I want you to think about is if you have a wish list and an item on your wish list goes on sale. Is that something that you're gonna allow yourself to buy it, or no, you're still gonna wait it out? You wanna think about very specific situations. Maybe you even have your birthday or you're going on a trip somewhere, whatever. You wanna think about every specific situation that might potentially arise and make the rule beforehand before you go into the challenge, because then when it happens in the moment, you will know exactly what to do and you will not feel like you failed your challenge. And then the second thing I really wish I knew before doing a no-buy is to keep a shopping diary. Because I remember those challenges in the beginning, I wasn't really paying attention to my emotional state and how I was feeling. I was pretty much just forcing myself to get through the challenge, and then once it was over, I was kind of like, oh, I can shop again, and I was just so relieved. And unfortunately, I just went back straight to my bad shopping habits, and not a lot has changed. That's why for a while I was feeling like this no-buy, it's not working, whatever. But now I'm here to tell you that when you do a challenge and you combine it with observing yourself and you keep a diary with everything that is going on, this is how you can transform your shopping habits, and you can actually make a difference once you come back to your normal life again. So my recommendation is that throughout the challenge, you pay attention to all of your shopping urges as they come up, and you take a moment to write them down in your diary. And what you write down is going to be very important. First thing that you want to notice is your environment. So are you alone, or maybe you're with friends or family? Then when it comes to the location, are you at home? Are you outside, at work, in the shopping mall? That is really important. And then lastly, you also want to think about what you're doing in that moment. Maybe you're watching TV, scrolling social media, maybe you're watching YouTube. You want to write down all of these important environment factors so you can use this info for later on. And then the second thing that you're going to write down is your emotional state. Use 1 to 3 words that best describe describe how you're feeling in that moment, and that is gonna be enough. Maybe you feel lonely, upset, tired, angry, or maybe you're even in a positive state. Maybe you're excited, because I know excitement was a huge shopping trigger for me for some reason. So it doesn't only have to be negative, it can also be positive, but you just want to write down 1 to 3 emotional states with the environment. And then once you do this for a really long time, you do this for a month, 2, 3, for however long, you're gonna notice some huge patterns in your life. For example, in my life, I've noticed that I really shopped when I was lonely, because my husband back then, when he was playing tennis, he was traveling all of the time, and he was often gone for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And for me, this was really lonely, and I wasn't looking forward to that. So I've noticed in the days before he left, I started to get my shopping urge, and I just wanted to get online and buy a lot of parcels from different stores. So when he was away, I would have something I would be excited about, and I wouldn't feel that lonely throughout the day. And then I even went back and I looked at my online purchases, and I've noticed that most of them happened a few days before he left. So I pretty much ordered 2 to 3 parcels every time he left, and he usually left once a month. So you can just imagine how much I was shopping. And when I realized that, and when that urge came up, then I knew, okay, Kim, it's not about your closet or your style or your clothes, it's about feeling lonely. And because I had that awareness, I actually made a conscious decision, I'm not gonna buy anything. And then I put other exciting things in my life that are actually fulfilling, and they are not just impulse shopping. So by keeping a diary, your shopping is going to be forever transformed, trust me. And the good thing is that you can even keep it when you're not doing a no-buy or a low-buy challenge. Even through your normal months, you can have this diary, and you can notice when you're shopping for something, what is the environment, what is the emotional state, what's going on, and then you can see the patterns and you can make appropriate changes in your life. And then the third thing, it's kind of a no-brainer, and that is to avoid temptation as much as possible. And I know this one is really obvious, but if I'm honest, in the past, it's not something that I did. I was a little bit cocky, and I thought that I'm just gonna have the same lifestyle, I'm gonna watch the same people online, I'm gonna visit shopping centers, but now I'm just gonna be different for some reason, and my willpower is gonna be stronger, and I'm just gonna say no to everything. Because to be fair, I really enjoyed shopping back in the day. I lived 20 minutes away from the shopping center, and for me it was kind of a daily ritual to go there, buy food, and it was kind of just an experience. So in my head I was thinking, I really enjoy this, I'm gonna go there, I'm just gonna look around, but then I'm not gonna buy anything. And that rarely worked, especially if I found something on my wish list or something that was on sale. It was really hard for me to resist. So now I know that temptation is just making everything so much harder than it needs to be. Especially, I also had influencers online. I watched some YouTube videos and hauls, and they were just making everything worse. So during the challenge, you want to keep your temptation at a minimum. So if you have any people online, when you see them and they're so stylish, and you just feel inspired to buy something, unfollow, unsubscribe. It doesn't have to be for forever, just during the challenge. And then the same goes for your lifestyle. If you're spending a lot of time in the shopping malls with your friends, and this is how you spend your time, during the challenge, try to do something different, go somewhere else, do something else instead. Again, it doesn't have to be for forever, and that is gonna make everything so much more enjoyable. And you're actually, when you complete the challenge and you don't fail it, you're actually gonna feel accomplished, and you're gonna start feeling a little bit more confident with your shopping habits. And now, as always, a quick reminder that if you're enjoying this video and you find it useful, that you give it a thumbs up. And also, if you've come this far, leave me a shopping bag emoji down below so I can know. Thank you. And that all brings me to another point, and that is that you want to add something fun to your life throughout this challenge. Because when you do a no buy or a low buy and you remove all of your shopping habits and routines out of your life, you're gonna create a vacuum. And if you're not careful, this vacuum can get filled up with something else, maybe with food or maybe with TV or scrolling social media. So if you're a really frequent shopping and you do it on a daily or a weekly basis, you want to plan how you're gonna fill that time with something a little bit more fun and a little bit more productive. I usually recommend, especially if you're watching this challenge and you love fashion, I recommend that through the challenge you maybe go through your wardrobe and do a good declutter. Or you can look at some style tips online. You can go on Pinterest and you can start looking for some outfit ideas that you can create out of the closet you already own. So you want to give yourself that excitement of having new outfits, of feeling stylish and your best, but without actually buying anything. So this is just something to think about. I remember when I did a shopping challenge, I also read a style book that was really enjoyable. But of course, new habits don't have to be style related. You can do something else. You can go for daily walks or something. Maybe you can start reading books, or maybe your schedule is already filled as it is and you don't have to do anything because the space is actually gonna help you rest and recover a little bit better. And then the fifth lesson is kind of a downer, but I realized a no-buy challenge is not gonna fix everything. Obviously, it can help, as I said before, especially if you do it the right way with all of the tips that I mentioned. But then at the same time, no matter which challenge we do in life, challenges are usually restrictive in their nature. They have loads of rules, you have to set up your environment in a certain way, and there is just that lack of freedom involved. And the problem with this is that once the challenge is over, there is a high probability that we're gonna return back to our old habits. I know this happened to me with food. For example, I did so many no sugar challenges in my life. I think I did 11 on that in total, but I committed to not eating sugar for a month and up to 6 months, and I was very successful. I felt on top of the world, but after it was over, I went straight back to my sugar overeating because during the challenge, I wasn't really developing habits on how to eat in moderation. And the same can happen in the shopping challenge. If we're just committed to kind of go through it and we're not focused on the lifestyle that we're gonna live after the challenge is over, we're gonna get ourselves in trouble. So I'm not saying that challenges don't have their value, because they do, especially if you've never done one before. It's very nice to do it once so you can see your relationship with shopping a little bit better. If you have a diary, as I said before, you're gonna learn even more. Then also these challenges are really nice if you want to save some money. Maybe you're in debt, maybe you're saving for something special. These challenges are nice if you have a specific goal in mind, but they are not necessarily a lifestyle choice. So when you're preparing for a challenge, you want to ask yourself, what is your end goal? Is it finite, like saving money, or you want to learn something very specific? Or do you want to actually change your relationship with shopping for the rest of your life and you want to develop some sustainable shopping habits? Because depending on the answer, the approach to your challenge is going to be very different. And I personally know that in the beginning stages of my minimalist journey, I used these challenges to really change my relationship with shopping because I didn't want to do them forever. To be completely honest, I haven't done them in a really long time, but that is because I did them the right way and I learned so much about myself. I just don't need the rules and the restrictions anymore. You can put me in a shopping center with loads of money, with people saying I should buy this, and I'm not gonna cave. So that's the last very important lesson. But if you have any of your own no-buy or low-buy tips, I would also love to hear them down below. Now, if you want even more minimalist shopping tips, I have another amazing video here that you can watch next. Thank you for stopping by today, and I will see you next time.